咁點樣樣喺前人
上海、台灣、香港、澳門、亞特蘭大。
Hello, welcome to Sex Talk. My name is Catherine Lee, and I'll be your host for today.
各位親愛觀眾，歡迎大家參加我哋呢個教育透視嘅節目。我係主持人 Carol Chan。
And this weekend we are going to be at the luxurious Taboo Resort in beautiful Muskoka.
This is your host Maggie Ng, and we are on location in Waterloo at the Canadian headquarters for Sun Life Financial.
品味时尚，品味生活，欢迎大家来到时尚心得。这里是由阿德给您带来的特别制作的美丽加拿大。那么今天呢，我特别为大家请来了在加拿大享有盛誉的一位设计师，那么他就是 Zoran Dubric。非常感谢今天Zoran 呢有机会到我们这个节目来。那么我想呢，请 Zoran 先给大家问个好。Well, welcome to TorontoTv this time, and I'm very honored to have you today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's great to be here.
I still remember the first time I saw you and your collection. It's impressed me so much, and I saw the latest collection. You evolved a lot, and the people entitle you like artist rather than a fashion designer. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a compliment, and I try to do my work in a more artistic way, because to me personally, fashion is more than just what you wear. I think it's an art form, and that's how I take it.
I was wondering, because you make things very different, and you collect, different type of style, like the magazine or the paper or textile. You just kind of pick up the things and use your own way to create your own fabric. And how could you do the inspiration, make it develop into a whole collection?
Well, each season I have a different obsession that I'm thinking about, different, feelings that I would like to express. So every time I have a different theme that I develop, from the original idea to making the fabric, and then to doing the silhouettes, and even the story comes through the whole show as well. So it's all like a continuous story that I'm trying to tell.
So far from what I know, and you trained in Milan in the fashion school, and you were born in Siberia, right? And Could you talk about the how you grew up, or you grew up in the environment, the all people around the artists, or?
Yes, I was born in former Yugoslavia. I'm Serbian, but I'm from Croatia, so this is part of Yugoslavia that's close to the Adriatic Sea. And I grew up in a family where my father was an artist and my grandmother was a seamstress, so she was always sewing for customers, and we had a lot of fabric around. So that's how I think I got into it and how I became interested in fabrics and art and fashion design.
I still want to remind all of my friends, because I have ever seen one collection Zoran did, inspired by his grandmother. The style is very classic, with the dresses. It's just very variable and artistic. So so your grandma give you a lot of different things other than just it's something special you want to share with us?
Yes, for the fall collection, my grandmother was the inspiration behind the collection, and especially because I went to visit my country after about 13 years that I haven't been back home, and I went to visit my old country and my grandmother, and I was very inspired by that, and I wanted to create something very nostalgic and something that would express my feeling for the old-fashioned kind of style, and that's why that was the inspiration for that season and the story behind it.
I can feel it's the general people they live that kind of life. The hair is very different. It's like the country style, or you have some special meaning behind.
Yeah, the look was very, very old-fashioned, very much inspired by my grandmother, so it was very kind of nostalgic and very warm in the feeling that I was trying to portray. But I made everything so that it can be very modern and very wearable for the people today. But it had that very warm and a vintagey, old-fashioned kind of feeling to it.
So, because you grew up in a family very artistic background, and you get trained in Milan. So, could you talk about the education in Milan? Give you something, input, for your design, like you develop, like right now.
Yes, well, I think growing up in Yugoslavia, and I was also going to an art school there as well. And so I got this background in education in art, and then I also studied fashion in Canada as well as Milan in Italy. So I think all these different environments, they gave me a different background and a different perspective of looking at fashion. I think from Canada I have more kind of a practical look at fashion, more wearable, whereas I think European background gives me more of an artistic background and approach to fashion. So I think when I combine these different outlooks, then I get the expression that I do in fashion.
在这里呢，我想给大家介绍一下 Zoran 的设计呢，目前已经是在全世界都有被发行。那么包括在美国、加拿大、德国和西班牙，还有中国的香港。那么我们可以在不同的地方呢，也可以看到它最新的设计。那么我在这里呢，也想再问一下 Zoran， 多伦多的时尚设计界呢，Zoran 呢一直有被誉为时尚设计师中的艺术家的支撑。那么Zoran 呢，在他的设计的时候啊，都会考虑到很多不同的方面，而且会把他自己呢各个不同时期所受到的艺术学习到的艺术呢，加到他这个设计当中。那么在而且通过不同的地域，包括在美国、欧洲，还有在塞尔维亚的艺术的教育呢，给他一个不同方式的观看美的影响。那么我在这里呢，想问一下 Zoran， so you have go through different places, and you get trained in Milan, Europe, and Siberia, and then you have something very universal, but still very unique. So I wanted to know which kind of your view of beauty. So, because it's kind of people from all over the world could connect to your work?
Wow, that's a little bit complicated question.
Yeah, because it's very hard to say how beauty is, but your view to see the beauty is you could connect people. That's the key point. But I just wanted to know how you make it work.
I don't know, maybe it's my background that comes from different places is what gives me kind of a more general perspective. You know, I have different inspirations from different places. And I think even today, fashion is very global in the world, so that there isn't, you know, their designers get inspired by all the different styles in different places.
在这里呢，我想跟大家介绍一下 Zoran 的设计呢，目前已经在全世界大家都可以看到，不仅仅是在加拿大、在德国、在西班牙、在中国的香港都有它的设计专门店。那么我们可以看到，它通过不同时期在塞尔维亚、在意大利、在加拿大受到的 fashion 方面的教育呢，都会对它的设计产生非常大的影响。而且从最开始它手工绘制到现在通过电脑绘制，他会把他自己很多艺术方面的灵感融入他的设计当中。那么我想在这里问一下 Zoran, so your design is very universal. How could you make it work? And I wanted to know, how do you view the beauty?
Well, I guess my experience is very international because I lived in different places, and I guess that's why I pick up different influences from different places. But I think that nowadays with you know, there's so many people traveling everywhere, and fashion design has really become very belongs everywhere. So there isn't really a big difference between the different continents and cities, and I think it's really a global market, and I think that's probably what's influencing the view of what's in fashion and what's beautiful.
Okay, so give us a little bit sample. How do you see, you know, like you pick up something, you know, or like you do the collection for, or you know, inspiration from your grandma, you know, you pick up something, you know, much. I feel there should be something really touched you, so you could bring it out.
Yeah, usually it's something that I think about a lot. It's something very personal that I'm trying to express every season. So for the last collection, I was thinking a lot about this novel by Virginia Woolf. It's called Orlando. So I was reading the book, and I was thinking a lot about the gender, the influences, and all of that. So that's what I was trying to express in the collection, and that was the starting thought behind the process and the story that I was trying to develop and express in the collection.
还有一点呢，我想给大家说一下呢，就是 Zoran 在经过他这个7个season 的设计之中呢，有非常有不一样的风格的转变。那么另外除此之外呢 Zoran 先生呢也曾经在加拿大和在国际的众多大奖中拿到了非常好的成绩。I just wonder, because you have been attending so many competition, and you win the awards from, you know, international or national competition. So what do you think you make your design so outstanding and unique, and those people cannot resist the temptation?
Thank you for a compliment. I don't know, maybe it's because everything that I do, I try to make very personal, and I treat it as special. So to me, it's not just clothing, I'm always trying to make it something a little bit more, so that the person will feel like it's almost like a piece of art or something that's very special, and you know, something that'll help them express who they are and their artistic sensibilities or their way of thinking about life. So maybe that's what, you know, that the process where I try to make it very special and very personal, maybe that's what maybe sets it apart, because nowadays fashion is very commercialized, and there isn't so much that you can find that's deep and that's meaningful in it. So that's what I'm trying to put into my work, and this is what I'm always striving and working towards, to create something that has more meaning behind it, that's something that's a little bit more special.
So while you design, do you put some twist, where like the to make the people wear that and they could play around?
Yes, I think that the fashion should really be about your personal style. I don't think that people should be following trends and dressing head to toe into what designers are telling them or what's trendy. I think it's far more interesting when they just, pick different elements and pick certain things that express their personalities. And I think that's what's interesting in clothing. I'm not really so interested in trends and being trendy and labels. I think it's more about personal expression and a personal style.
So far as I know, most of your design is quite unique, expressive, and you have the personal touch into that, and most of them feels like a piece of art. But right now it's kind of it's marketing oriented, and how could you balance your artistic design and the marketing concern?
Yeah, well, yeah, you have to strike a balance between having something that's interesting and new, and then something that people would actually want to wear. So and also something that's cost effective and that's something that you can sell. Also, I have to think about the markets. For a North American market, maybe it's a little bit different for Canadian customers. It's different for American customers, and now I'm starting to sell in Hong Kong. So again, there's all these different things that I have to think about. What do people want? What would people like to have, and what they would buy?
Okay, so like these three different places, how you play around with the elements? Maybe could you just talk about this?
Yeah, it's really, in the end, it's really business, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to make sales and you want people to wear your clothes. So you have to strike a balance between something that's wearable and something that's interesting and different. So that's what I'm trying to do every time. And you always have to keep in mind the markets and the customers as well.
There's one thing I am very interested that before I saw your designs for Gothic style at the beginning. The first year I saw your design, it's much more like artistic style, and then you transform to a more variable and still have the artistic touch to that. And you pick up different color. Before the first season I saw is all black and white. So what makes you evolve to this stage?
Well, in the beginning, a couple of seasons ago, I was working more on creating things that were done by hand that were very labor intensive, and they were almost like pieces of art that you couldn't really replicate. So that was a little bit harder to deliver to the store. It's almost like textile art or something that you can hang in a gallery. So I had to find a way to keep my style and keep my signature look, but try to make it commercially available where I can produce more units and sell to different stores. So that's why I was looking for different ways of doing that. And that's how my collection has evolved. And it still has that look.
Now I see, because you read the different books and magazines, and well, you do a collection. Do you have a concept first, or you just kind of from one point of idea and then you interpret into different way and pick up your own mood, how you do the collection, from the beginning to the final look?
Well, usually I always have like a different theme that I would like to interpret based on what I'm thinking about currently. But I also have some influences that I always have, which are art, and then I also have my favorite designers. Like I really like Yamamoto and Issey Miyake. I like Dries van Noten. So I like fall costumes from different parts of the world, like kimonos and so on. So there's all these different influences that are always at the back of my mind that I'd like to interpret in my collections, and that I combine with the current theme for the season that I have.
我在这里呢，想给大家隆重的介绍一下。刚刚呢，Zoran 先生给我看了一件他从前设计的非常有日本风格的那种 kimono 啊，很漂亮，很漂亮。I just saw the kimono. It's very impressive and everything is very unique, and you make it all by hand. And how do you make that one? You know, it's much more like our couture and a piece of art.
Yeah, that kimono that you saw was really like an artwork that I did, and it was the inspiration behind that was fashion as a form of metamorphosis, and how the fashion changes throughout the ages, and how people change when they wear something. So the idea behind it was to use my face but show myself in different centuries, in different costumes, and also as a different person. So I was, in some parts, I was as a, for example, a Byzantine king, or a Rococo woman, or a Gothic princess, and all these different roles that I screen printed based on the image of myself, incorporated with artwork that I drew around it. So it was really about expressing this theme of fashion changes, of the metamorphosis behind clothing.
Yeah, because while you do the clothes, and it's for people to wear, and that means you know so much about women, and you put beauty into that. So what do you think right now? What do you think about fashion? What's fashion in your definition?
In my definition, I think in Europe, this is how I was brought up in the art school. I think it's more so an attitude of European people that fashion is really a form of art. It's it is business, but first of all, it is a part of fine arts. So it's a branch of applied arts, just like interior design and so on. So that's how I regard it. And but I think in North America, it's a little bit more commercialized. Nowadays, it doesn't even matter, you know, what the design is, as long as there's a celebrity behind it, or as long as it's designed by some actress or somebody who's not even a designer. So now, meaning of fashion in today's world, it's just a little bit lost. There isn't really true art in it so much anymore. It's very commercialized, I think. But especially in North America. But I think in Europe there's still a strong tradition for the creation and design of fashion, where real designers are, you know, still able to make it and appreciate it. It's not so much commercialized into, you know, just being about celebrities and being about having a label.
Yes, because right now we can, yeah, well, like we can see like Justin Timberlake, and yeah, everybody have the line. It's very interesting, and it's I know maybe they want to express themselves, but fashion is not just put a label there. And another phenomenon I want to talk about, that like H&M and Zara, they carry every new stuff a week, and they really do fast fashion thing. But what do you think about this kind of business, or what do you view? What do you think their behavior?
Yeah, I personally think that companies like H&M are good because they're taking the latest ideas and the latest creativity that big designers are coming up with, and they're making it at a lower price and offering it to general public, so they can also have these new ideas and new things. But at the same time, these kind of companies are not really like original designers. They're more product developers. They're just taking somebody else's ideas that they've seen, and they're just making a cheaper version of that. But so there should be a differentiation made between real designers, you know, that are creating their own products, and these companies that are just making fast fashion, and they're just copying and knocking off the other designers. It's good for the economy, and it's good for general people to have access to these styles, you know. So I think it's good.
Yeah, you're right. But from another point of view, everybody dress, you know, like each other. It's That's what I think is different, because I would rather to have something unique, different. You have the personal touch to that. This business kind of kill the creative people, and
That's true. That's also true, because these big businesses like that are so strong, and they have so much money that they take away from smaller designers. So that's why people, they're not willing to pay so much, because they can get very cheap fashion. So in a way, those big companies like that are hurting a little bit other designers. And it's true that because of mass market, everyone begins to look the same, and there really isn't so much personal style happening. Yeah.
so well, now you do your own brand for 7 seasons, and you have the pressure, to make a good sale. But on the other hand, you need to keep your own personal design and concept into that. How could you cooperate with this?
Well, I just try to come up with something that's new and interesting, but at the same time different enough so that people would be, they would like it enough that they would buy it.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, just like what we just talked about, because you told me that the Hong Kong buyer, they buy some funky stuff, but in US they buy the wearable stuff. But still, you have different type, to meet different people.
Yes, well, when I was designing that collection, I knew that I was going to take it to the trade show to New York, so I wasn't exactly sure what kind of buyers I would meet at the trade show in New York. And so I created some of the more funky styles, or interesting styles, maybe a little bit more creative. And then I also created some of the more conservative styles, just in case, to see which ones I'm going to do better with, right? So I had a mix. And I just find that the buyers in the U.S. were a little bit more conservative, and then there was a buyer from Hong Kong, and she liked more funky styles. So I've noticed a little bit of difference in the American market and the Asian market, and I'm sure the European market would also be different from them as well. So there, it's really different. Even though we're saying fashion is so global, but there's still really a difference between different markets. Europe and North America and Asia, it's a different market.
So far, when we do the collection for our Fashion Week, what's your input for this? Do you have any concern about the marketing aspect, or you just do whatever you want, to make it really show off your design?
For the Fashion Week?
Yes.
For the Fashion Week, I just basically was showing what I was preparing for the buyers to have offered. So and I'd make some couple of pieces just for the show that are a little bit more interesting for pictures. Yeah.
亲爱的朋友们，品味时尚，品味生活，欢迎大家来到时尚心得。那么接下来呢，还是我和 Zoran 给大家带来的特别的美丽加拿大的环节。那么刚刚呢，我们感受了香槟的美味呢，我们再一次呢走进 Zoran， 了解一下他内心的美丽的世界。So we talk about your view and the beauty and your design, your art. So generally speaking, what's your own definition for your signature, like artistic or some more personal and expressive?
Oh, I would think that it's more, it's not very trendy. I want to create something that's more timeless. So you're not going to wear it just one season and then you throw it out. So I want it to be something more timeless and more artistic. So that way you're going to always have it, and it's always going to be meaningful to you. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's the signature I'm trying to create.
I guess you made that because it's very special, and every piece I could tell I have some twist behind it, and it's playful and involved, and it's very beautiful. And well, I know that right now you are preparing for fall and winter 2009, and well, fashion is going so fast because we just see your new collection, spring summer 2009, and you have to switch to the fall season. So while you prepare different season, do you have to consider some specific elements for that, or you kind of go different mood to make a new collection?
Yeah, I considered that, I look at what was selling before, and then I try to kind of go in that direction. So I was doing really well with the dresses, so now I'm preparing a lot of dresses. Also, I'm thinking about what new theme I would like to express and what colors and what fabrics. So for fall that I'm working on right now, I was thinking a lot about Gustav Klimt, and it's a very cliche theme for fashion. It can look really bad, it can look very tacky, but I was looking at not him, but his mistress. She had a fashion studio in Vienna in that time, and she was very avant-garde. She didn't like corsets, and she liked everything really loose. So it was almost like Eastern influenced, the way her fashion philosophy was. So I was thinking about her and about textiles that she created that influenced him a lot in his art. So to me, she was really interesting, and I wanted to see how I can take her ideas, like very loose, almost like kimono-like or kaftan-like clothes, and how I can take some of the elements from art deco from that time, and how I can incorporate that into my clothes. And also because I when I escaped the war in Yugoslavia, I lived in Vienna, so I've always had that at the back of my mind, and I was thinking, how can I interpret this, but to make it look very new? Because every time somebody is using this theme, it looks very cliche. So I'm going to try to do it my way, that you could never tell what was inspiring me. But I like the philosophy behind her, just her idea, how she was so avant-garde in this time, and how she was so far ahead with these shapes, and she wasn't really understood at that time because it was all about corsets, and she was very avant-garde. So I was thinking, how can I take this idea of comfort that she had, that was very comfortable and loose clothing, and how I can make this work for today, and also to take the inspiration of her lifestyle and the art of this period, and how I can make it relevant today. So the way I'm going to do it is that I'm going to make it very monochrome. I'll take a lot of colors out, so it'll be shades of pink and purple, gray and black. So that's how I'm going to make it very modern, that you couldn't even tell what it's about. But that's what I was thinking about a lot and reading, and this is what I would like to interpret.
That's great. I can't wait to see that. And the color, it would be very nice too.
Yeah, the color, it's I really selected the very narrow palette of colors. It's going to be very monochromatic, because I think this theme, if you use too many colors, it's going to look too much, like you're referencing too much. Because I really want it to look very modern and not look like it's a reference of something else. So that's what I'm trying to do.
我在这里呢，给朋友们再特别介绍一下 Zoran 呢，在他的设计里面呢，有很多布料呢都是他自己设计的。那么不仅是手工画的，有些呢还是有他自己很独到的艺术的创作。So you create your own fabric and your own way to make it very special. Could you talk about this part?
Yeah. Because I'm a small designer, I'm a little bit limited in the fabrics that I can get from the textile manufacturers. So that's why I like to create my own fabric, where I can no other designer will have the same fabric as me, and I think that's what makes it special. So I start creating my fabric very often from drawing by hand, and from doing different appliques or pleating the fabric. And then I try to find a way that I can recreate this look in a more commercial way where you can make lots of units, not just one. So I use digital printing, and then I still use some embroidery and pleating as well for some of my garments. So that's also what makes it different, is because nobody else will have the same fabric. And it's something that I've created by myself. Nobody else did it for me. So that's what makes it a little bit different, because most of the other designers, they just buy fabric and they make something out of it.
Yeah. Exactly. You're right.
Yeah, and I really like textile design as well. Like, one of my favorite designers is Dries van Noten. So he develops all of his own fabrics. So that's somebody that I really respect. And I think that's very artistic kind of view of fashion. That's what I like about it.
Thank you so much. You bring the art to the runway, and you bring the art to our life. And I'm very honored to have Zoran this time. And 在新年到来之际呢，我们非常荣幸呢能请到 Zoran 到我们的 Toronto 时尚心得来做客，那么和大家欣赏一下他曾经给创作了这么多美丽的设计让我们大家感受一下他美丽的内心。那么接下来呢有一个很重要的环节，那么就是请 Zoran 先生呢给我们看一下他2008年的设计So let's see the next exciting part. Let's go see what you did for the spring and summer 2008.
Yeah, it's so exciting because every season is something new. So here I have a couple of pieces from my spring summer 2009 collection, and the collection was inspired by a book by Virginia Woolf, Orlando, which is the character. So I wanted to bring very feminine and very masculine elements together in the collection. So I have created some textile that I designed myself. So for this example, I created a watercolor painting on paper where I used ink and watercolors and pencils. And I've developed the print by hand, and then I manipulated it in Photoshop to create a whole print for the fabric, which is then printed on silk. And here is another dress. I worked in Adobe Illustrator to create the background for the dress, and the cut is a little bit unusual because it's a square cut, so it drapes into a handkerchief hem that's asymmetrical. And again, a different floral kind of print that I developed. Here is an example. I was inspired a lot by the character, who is a man in 16th century Britain, and so I wanted to use kind of a menswear jacket from that time as a base for the shape of the jackets. And I also wanted to use menswear inspired jackets, tuxedo style, for the colors and for the shapes. So that's how I was bringing the different elements together. And so for some of the shapes, they're pretty wearable. It's just a little bit unusual the way it drapes on the side, but I wanted it to be wearable for people. And again, there's an original textile that I created. This one, it's a little bit unusual. It almost looks like a 3D kind of a sculpture. And the way this is created is I was sewing strips of fabric with the sewing machine that created the lines. And then I scanned the fabric that was very 3D, very textured in the computer, and that's how the print was created. And that's why it looks kind of a 3D. I wanted to create more of a texture kind of look here. So each one has a different kind of a process that is behind it.
And this season you do a lot of strips and like a graphic, you know, and you'll have a whole image at the runway stage. And how that developed into your concept and the final look? Like you have the graphic picture, you know, on your website. It's
the graphics?
The whole feeling.
Oh, you mean the graphics that are on my website? Well, I have the photographs on my website, and then the graphic work that's behind the photographs was done by my friend who lives in Tokyo. So yeah, he designed it. I design all of my textiles, but he designs some of the graphics that I use for my advertising. He's very creative and he knows what I'm looking for. So he created the graphic design for my website. Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.